Okay, this is topic 7H, number 24 on your Unit 2 review packet. So I have a word problem here. A square is changed into a rectangle. The sides of a square were increased on one side by 5 and on the other by 7. The area of the rectangle is 255 square inches. Find the length and width of the original square and the length and width of the rectangle. All right, so I'm going to start off by drawing pictures. This is a lot of words. I like to see a picture when I have a word problem. So here's a square, and we're changing the square into a rectangle. All right, so I've got, when I have a square, I know all the sides are the same, so I'm going to label these X. Now to go from the square to the rectangle, it said the sides of the square were increased on one side by 5 and the other side by 7. So increasing by 7 would mean I'm adding 7. Increasing by 5 means I'm adding 5. So again, here's my original square of same sides, X and X, right? All 4 lengths have to be the same. My rectangle, I changed one side by increasing it by 7 and the other side by increasing it by 5. So now I have these. And it tells me the area of the rectangle is 255 square inches. I'm just going to write inches squared here. Inches squared. So there's my area. 255 inches squared. So area of a rectangle or area of a square is length times width. And I have the length and I have the width, right? So area is length times width, and I have both of those. And I have the area. So they tell me my area is 255, my length, X plus 7, my width is X plus 5. So all I did is substitute. I know area is length times width. Area is 255. There's my length, there's my width. I'm going to have to multiply this out. So I'm going to do box method here. I've got X and 7, X and 5, X times X, X times 5, 7 times X, and 7 times 5. So here's my like term diagonal, and they are the same. So this multiplies out to be 255 equals X squared, 7 plus 5 is 12X, and then plus 35. All right, now I have something that looks a little more like a quadratic. So to solve it, my first step is make sure it equals 0. Right now it does not, so I am going to subtract 255 on both sides. And now I have 0 equals X squared plus 12X minus 220. I look for a GCF. There is no GCF. So on this one, let's see if I can factor it. So I am going to see if I can factor. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be A times C and add up to be B. So A times C is negative 220, and B is 12. So that's kind of a big number. I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to go to y equals negative 220 divided by x. I'm going to go to my table, and I'm looking for the bigger number to be positive. If they're going to add up to be a positive number, the bigger number needs to be positive, and the smaller number needs to be negative. So I want them to equal 12. Oh, there we go. So I have 22 and negative 10. So 22 times negative 10 is negative 220. 22 plus negative 10 is 12. So it's my easy kind of factoring. I could have drawn these in. And I'm going to put the 0 on the other side right now because we're used to seeing it that way. So again, this is my easy kind of factoring. A is 1. I just found that these two numbers here are 22 and negative 10. So they just go here. I have plus 22 minus 10. So now I factored it. Now I set each one equal to 0. So x plus 22 equals 0, x minus 10 equals 0. When I solve this, I get x equals negative 22, right? I'm going to subtract 22 on each side, and I get x equals 10. But I'm talking about length and width in this problem. I'm talking about dimensions, and we don't have negative numbers as dimensions. So it cannot be this answer, because that would mean I would have a negative amount of inches. So it has to be x equals 10. So now I know what x equals, so let's go back and see what the question asked me. The question said, find the length and width of the original square. Okay, well, the length and width are the same for a square, right? So here's my original square. X is 10. Same thing here, x is 10. There's my original length and width. And it says the length and width of the rectangle. Okay, so my rectangle, x plus 7. 10 plus 7. 17. Here, x plus 5. 10 plus 5, 15. So my square is, my dimensions are 10 by 10, and length and width are the same. For my rectangle, my dimensions are 17 times 15. So there's my answers. Again, quick refresher on what we did. We drew a picture. Because this was a lot of words, we kind of wanted to get it in a picture form so we could see what was going on. We know a square has the same length and width. All the sides are the same, so we could call both of them x. This one, we read our word problem. We know if it says increased on one side, it means we're adding 5, or increasing by 7 means adding 7. So we did x plus 7, x plus 5, and they gave us the area of 255. And we know to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times width. So length times width equals 255. We went through, multiplied this out using the box method. Then we made it equal 0 so we could factor. So we subtracted 255 on both sides. Took this, my a is 1, so it's my easy kind of factoring. I found two numbers that multiplied to be negative 220 and added up to be 12, and those two numbers went there. I set each factor equal to 0. And when I did that, I eliminated this answer because it was negative and we can't have negative dimensions. I found x was 10, and I just went back to my original picture to find the dimensions.